Everybody, Brian Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. Well, it's Monday here on this show, and you know what that means? We got a lot to talk about here today. SmackDown on Friday, they shot the big angle. Kevin Owens has reunited with Sami Zayn, and they're going to be going after the Usos for the tag team titles. It's amazing when you look at this WrestleMania coming up. It's like everything is going exactly as one would have expected it to go. And obviously when they did that Montreal show and you saw the reaction of Sami Zayn in Montreal and all of it came together on that day. Yeah, when the day was over, I said they should have put that title on Sami Zayn and then, shot some sort of angle to get it back on Roman or whatever. But at the end of the day, like going into that show, we all knew where this was all going to end. Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos for the tag team titles at WrestleMania. And it's all literally going exactly how we expected it to go. And, you look at the rest of the stories. Rey Mysterio refuses to wrestle his son. Well, we know exactly how that's going to end now, don't we? Now, exactly when they do it, will they do it at the Hall of Fame? Will they give Rey a real Hall of Fame? And then Saturday when hey, come on out, Hall of Famers, come on out on the ramp right here. Is that when they're going to shoot the angle? We don't know. But we do know it's going to end exactly where we expected it to. And I have no complaints about any of this. Everybody knew that Sami and Kevin were going to get back together again. And when it actually happened on SmackDown, that crowd just exploded for that hug. Last half hour of SmackDown was great. The whole show was a very, very good show. But if you did not see the angle with Sami and Kevin, you should go watch it because it's quite the deal. We'll talk about that, all of the news, and more. Wrestling Observer Live.
Question number 6. What is your favorite movie?
Ooh, Heathers, actually, which is like an older movie.
Ryder, right?
Yes, I love that movie, and everybody thinks I'm crazy when I say it. They're like, "You're young. Why do you know about Heathers?" And I was like, "I don't know. Somebody showed it to me one day, and I fell in love."
I was gonna tell you, I wasn't expecting that answer, but I was so thankful that I knew the movie you were talking about. But yeah, no, it's a good movie. I really like it. Question number 7. What's your favorite social media app?
Definitely Instagram. Instagram has always been one of my favorites. I feel like I just recently figured out like Twitter and had more fun with Twitter. And I've never been a fan of Facebook. I try, but it's like, ah, I don't like this.
Question number 8. Do you have a pet?
I do. I actually have a dog and I had Thumper. But recently Thumper has gone to the Bum Bum Brigade, just because of my crazy schedule. I loved him the most and I just wanted him to have a good home. And he was still free roam, enjoying everything at the house and played with the dogs, but I was never home to, like, take care of him, make sure he was okay. I was like, my schedule's just getting more and more insane, and I was like, I just don't wanna leave him alone where he's just unhappy and doesn't have anybody.
Question number 9. What animal is your spirit animal?
Ooh, definitely like a red panda. I
Ooh.
think they're cute, adorable, but definitely very mean.
I love that. That's perfect. That's great. Question number 10. Last one. What do you want your fans to know about you?
Genuinely how much I care about wrestling, and I feel like it's hard for me to show it sometimes, but I hope they can see through my matches. Like, at the end of the day, all I wanna do is just put on a good show for everybody and for them to leave and go home happy. Honestly, just having some of the best matches in the world and having fun with wrestling still. I want to make this my career and I wanted to make my living, and I don't want to do anything else but pro wrestling. So in 5 years, I hope I'm still in the ring just having fun.
Back in the show, Brian Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Talked in the opening segment about the Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens story. And we all knew where it was going. But we all didn't know what they were really going to do. And got to say that SmackDown opens up and Cody Rhodes comes out. And Cody essentially says, I want to talk about some stuff. So I'd like to call out Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens comes down to the ring. And then Kevin's about to talk, and Cody says, oh, wait a second. This is not a one-on-one discussion. There's another person that needs to be involved. And so they hit Sami Zayn's music. Sami Zayn comes out. And they're having a summit. And when it first started, I was like, this is not where I saw this going. Like, I thought there would be everyone's beating down Sami. Kevin Owens just comes out and makes a save. So, they're having a meeting, a verbal debate. And Sami's whole debate is essentially, dude, we've gone through this 1,000 times. We've fought, we've been friends, we've fought, we've been friends, we've always gotten back together. We need each other to take out the Usos. I don't understand why this time is so different. And, Kevin says to Cody, okay, I heard him. Can I go now? I ain't doing this. And so Cody goes, this is the service business. The fans want this. Sammy wants this. We all want this. Kevin's like, that's great. Can I leave now? And so Sammy tries one more, and he goes, you do not have to like me, okay? You don't have to be my friend. We don't have to be friends. We just have to get this done. If it takes years to repair all of this, that's fine. We can do this, and we don't have to be friends. And then Kevin just takes the mic, and he says, you know what? We could do this, but why would I want to do this with somebody that doesn't even want to be my friend? And he leaves. And Sammy is so sad. And so off Kevin goes again. So after commercial, Sammy follows him to the parking lot. And he gives one final plea, and it just ain't working. Kevin's getting in the car. And finally, Sammy says, you know what? Fine. Go. I've done all I could. But you know what? If you never talk to me again, whatever, I just want you to know that I love you. And Kevin looks at him, and he shakes his head, and he gets in the car, and off he goes. Sammy puts his sad old bearded, mustachioed face down, and he just walks away. And then, of course, we build to the main event, and the Usos are there. They're beaten down. They had an interview with Sammy and Jay, and Jay was awesome in this deal. I mean, they're keeping everything consistent. Jay essentially is saying, I didn't want to do this to you. I loved you, but, you put me in this situation. You betrayed me. And at the end of the day, from day one, I've said this, you're not blood, and I had to do what I had to do for my family. This never had to happen, but when it happened, I had to make this call. And they're planting a seed, by the way, of Sammy telling Jay, you do realize that you're not mad at me. You're mad at Roman. You wish that you would have hit Roman Reigns with that chair, but you didn't. I did. You have misplaced anger. So eventually they get a brawl. Jimmy comes out. Jimmy's beating on him. They hit Kevin Owens' music, and this dude comes down to the ring, and he lays out both of these Usos. And this was so great because Kevin's on one side of the ring. Sammy's on the other side of the ring. The ring has been cleared. They're looking at each other, and there's not like a slow whatever. Kevin looks at him, and he just starts striding towards him. And Sammy don't know what's going on. And if you watch Sammy, he's like, he starts taking steps back like, this dude's going to kill me. Kevin grabs this dude, and he hugs him, and this place went haywire. And like the opening segment, they've been chanting, hug it out. This segment, they've been chanting, hug it out. And they hugged it out. And man, it was so great. It's one of those things I talk about all the time. It's not what I thought they were going to do. But what they did was actually way better than what I thought they were going to do. Because you know what this is at the end of the day, Mike? You know what this is?
What's that?
It is a bromance. There's literally no other way to describe it. It's two bros, and all one of these bros needed to hear was, I love you. That's all he needed, and boom! He came back for his friend. It was so great. Anyway, I loved it. Loved this storyline.
I'm hoping for a digital exclusive that took place inside Kevin Owens' car when he found a mixtape from way back in the day when he and Sammy were running the indies, and he put that tape in, and he was driving down the road, and he was thinking about that I love you, and just went, and turned the car around and came back into the arena. I thought it was great. I know there are people that don't like this storyline. I get it. It's over the top. It's huge. It's massive. It's sucked all the air out of WWE's room for the last 18 months, all that sort of stuff. But I've really enjoyed where they've gone with it. I'm looking forward to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn against the Usos at WrestleMania. I'm looking forward to what comes after WrestleMania because all of this stuff can still continue on. You need probably, again, you don't need somebody if Roman's going to be gone because you have the Usos and Solo right there. But Cody and Roman, that's going to continue to be a thing. I'm sure Roman and Sammy is going to continue to be a thing. So If you don't like this storyline, I hate to tell you, it's probably going to be continuing on for I don't want to say a long, long time, but I could see it going on easily for at least another 6 months.
Oh, I mean, they've planted the seeds. This thing's going on, brother.
Probably until SummerSlam Survivor Series. That's honestly what I would think right now.
You know, everyone's still talking about, oh, man, please let Roman beat Cody. I want to see everyone go crazy. Hey, listen, obviously Roman could beat Cody, but, you know, this is main eventing the second night of WrestleMania, and I would be fairly confident that Cody is going to win this title, and there's no reason for him not to. I mean, it's time to pull the trigger on somebody new. And you know what happens if Roman is no longer the champion? Well, Roman can do some feuds with guys and lose. Because you know what? The one thing that kept driving me crazy about this Roman Reigns never-ending title reign is they only had faith in a finite number of people. And so ultimately, he would wrestle the same guys. Like, how many times did he wrestle Kevin Owens? And he had to beat him every single time.
Dude, Owens,
and
Lashley, and McIntyre.
Had to beat Sami Zayn in Montreal because of this streak. Like, and I said this about Wardlow and other guys. It's like, it's a lot easier to book when you can actually beat people. When you've set yourself up in a position where we can't beat anybody, it actually just makes it more difficult. Like, I don't know. I'm ready for this to end. You know, Roman's job here, which I don't think people sometimes understand, you know, especially when we were talking about Montreal and everything like that. It's like Roman's job as the number one guy in the company by miles, because that's the way he's been portrayed forever. Roman's job is not to get over the next guy. His job is to get over several guys, okay? Everyone's all this, you know, well, he can't beat Sammy because, like, we need to get over Cody. Cody is the guy. Cody is the guy, okay? But that doesn't mean that Roman's 1,000 whatever and, you know, hasn't been beaten since 2019 or whatever. It's not like he can only get over one guy. He can get over other guys. He can do a job and give Sammy a huge win. He can give Jey Uso a huge win. Like, that's his job. That's his role now that he has achieved this position. It's not 1 for 1. It should be like 1 for 3, 1 for 4. And then whoever the next big guy is, if it's Cody, give Cody his long run. But at the end of the day, Cody isn't there to get over one guy. He's there to get over a bunch of guys. That's the point. Back in a moment, Observer Live.
Question number 1. What was your first job?
At a restaurant.
What was your, like, were you like the bus boy? Like, what did you have to do?
Food prep, and I did a little bit of dishwashing. It sucked, and I didn't do it for long.
Question number 2. What has been the most difficult move to learn?
Not really many difficult moves. I hate to sound like cocky, but I don't think I've.
Hey, if that's your answer, that's your answer. You're like, I could do it all.
Maybe, like, I don't know. That maybe like a satellite DDT, if anything, but
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Question number 3. What's one thing outside wrestling that you're a big fan of?
SpongeBob.
Are you really?
Oh yeah, watch it like every night.
Oh my God. Okay, so I gotta ask you because one of my addictions is SpongeBob memes all the time. There's like Facebook pages about it, and I will spend hours scrolling through them.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I recite SpongeBob all the time.
Favorite SpongeBob character then?
Definitely SpongeBob. He's the man.
Excited. Who are you the most nervous or most excited to meet or wrestle in wrestling?
There's a lot. There's a couple guys, so I'm a little nervous and excited to meet. But like who I haven't met yet.
Either or, like ones that you haven't met yet, or ones that you did meet already.
Okay, yeah, it was pretty nerve-wracking meeting Sting. That was pretty cool.
How was that interaction like?
It was just it was fairly quick, you know, just like, hey, like, nice to meet you. Like he had his own face paint on, he had stuff to do. It was just a quick pass and go, but I definitely there's certain guys I have to build myself up to go up to, you know, still. Like
I get it. You're like, oh my God, I'm co-workers with Sting. press on with the day. Question number 5. What's your ultimate dream match?
So many, but right now I'm just throw out Brian Danielson.
Hell yeah. Oh my God, that would be incredible. Question number 6. If you weren't a wrestler, what do you think you would be doing?
Something in wrestling. Being a referee. I don't know. Maybe I'd try out like UFC fighting or something like that. But yeah.
Question number 7. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I have a little bit of both. It definitely depends on like the situation I'm in and like what's going on with my day. But I can definitely be more like extroverted most of the time.
Question number 8. What's one bad habit you're currently trying to break?
Being late.
Question number 9. What is your food Mount Rushmore? So like 4 food items that you're like, this is what I consider just delicious stuff, man.
Here's a quick answer. Chicken, steak, donuts, and lasagna.
Oh, hell yeah. It's all good stuff.
My food Rushmore is like 20 heads, by the way.
Question number 10, last one. What is your all-time favorite movie?
The Hangover.
Back in the show, Brian Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Yes, Mike.
I don't want to play devil's advocate here because I believe in what I'm saying. It's not just a fake argument to bring up to banter, but I will say I agree with you. Clash at the Castle, I would have done the deal with Drew McIntyre then. That was in September. They obviously didn't do that. They wanted to do something else. But when I look at Sami Zayn and where he was at and what he was doing before the Bloodline angle, I would say that in the process of all of this, Sami Zayn is more over and better off now than he was. Now, is he as hot as he was in the run-up to the title? No. I don't know what quarter hours you're referring to in the chat. And that
no
sort
one
of
knows
thing.
what you're talking about, so let me explain this.
Go ahead.
Because we don't disagree. You're misinterpreting what I said.
Well, no, I just want to say this before you go. I think everybody involved in this angle, when you include Solo, when you include the Usos, when you include the entirety of everybody, I think everybody is better off in general. You can nitpick and debate who should have been better, should you have done this or done that, but I think in the entirety, everybody has gotten over. Everybody's in a better position.
Of course.
But I do agree with what you're saying, that Roman Reigns, his job and Triple H's job and that company's job is to make sure that it's not just Sami revitalized and Cody, getting one over on Roman. There is going to be other people that are involved in this mix that do benefit from it.
Okay, well, here's what Mike's talking about, everybody, because it was during the break. So, I said, Roman's job is to get guys over, okay? And somebody in the chat was like, did he get Sami over, okay? Now, listen, obviously, from where Sami was a year ago until today, he is way more over than he was a year ago because of this entire storyline, okay? What I am saying is, no, he didn't get more over losing to Roman in Montreal. He got less over, okay? And it's the same thing with Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, there's a reason that we said, you know what? Drew should beat Roman in Cardiff. And he didn't, okay? There was a reason that we said Sami should beat Roman in Montreal. He didn't, okay? Now, I don't have all of the quarters and everything going back to Cardiff, but is there anybody here who believes that Drew McIntyre is hotter after that match in Cardiff than he was before? The answer is he's not. He was hotter going into that Cardiff match than he was after he was beaten by Roman Reigns, okay? So Roman wrestling him and beating him did not get Drew more over. He was less over afterwards, okay? Now with Sami, is Sami like a geek and he doesn't do anything? No, of course not. But you can track the quarters leading up to Montreal. And, I know people go, well, it wasn't Sami. It was the bloodline, okay? You're wrong, okay? Because in the lead up to Montreal, Sami Boom, straight up. When he was in these, and you can go back and look at the quarters. You put Sammy on TV in the lead up to Montreal, and you would have a big spike. Now, Roman was there sometimes. He wasn't there other times. Solo was there sometimes. He wasn't there other times. The Usos, the one guy, the constant was Sami Zayn, okay? Then we had Montreal. You know, everyone's going crazy for this guy. We have Montreal. He loses, okay? Go back and look at all of the quarters since Montreal. I think there's been one show where, like, you know, Sammy was in the highest rate, but they were all there in that quarter, okay? And, you know, Sammy's been in main event positions. Sammy's been in top of the hour positions. There are no more spikes. They're gone. The spikes are gone. There has not been one since Montreal, okay? So this doesn't mean that he's not over. It doesn't mean that he's been destroyed or killed or anything like that. What it means is he's less over after losing to Roman than he was before. And that's not, like, don't read too much into this. Like, oh, Brian's saying that, you know, he's a geek. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying getting in the ring with Roman and losing did not give him some sort of magical rub that made him more over or anything like that. What it did was there was a portion of fans that were super into this Sammy thing, and then they watched the show and he got beaten, and now they aren't tuning in for his segments anymore. You can track the before and after. I'm not trying to win an argument or make it up. It's what happened, okay? Roman's job is to get people more over. When someone beats Roman, they need to capitalize from it, okay? That happens by beating the guy, not getting in the ring with him and losing in Cardiff, not getting in the ring with him and losing in Montreal. That's the old, oh, he'll get a rub. If that actually happened, I'd tell you. But we've all seen it with our own eyes, and we have the data to back it up. Neither Drew nor Sammy, by being in the ring with Roman in their hometown and losing, ended up better off for it. Both of them were not as well off for it afterwards as they were before. That's it. So my point is, now that he's no longer the champion, he can have a feud with somebody. And at the end of I'm not saying go in there and put everybody over. That'd be stupid. Hogan tried that in WCW, and it was a disaster.
Sort of.
His job, Roman's job, is to be the top guy. He's going to win almost all the time. But if it's the right guy at the right place at the right time, when he's no longer this guy that they have to protect for some streak, he can put over Drew in Cardiff. He can put over Sammy in Montreal. You can have that moment that you're not going to have again. You can have a guy come out of it a bigger star than they were going in, not somewhat less of a star. That's his job. What am I yelling for?
I don't know. That's what you do. Getting ready for your speech as Tony Clifton to induct Andy Kaufman into the WWE Hall of Fame, I assume.
Yeah, Andy Kaufman's going in to the Hall of Fame. Hey, listen, he's a famous pro wrestling character.
My problem with this is just you're doing this at a time where Jerry Lawler is sick and can't be there. And I'm wondering.
That's
the only bad part about that for me.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, are they going to try to get something from, his house, like, record something, and this is something they can do to get him on TV for a feel-good sort of moment? That's what I'm wondering if that's part of this.
Well, it's Hollywood. Jim Carrey's from Hollywood. Maybe Jim Carrey shows up at Jerry's house as Andy to something like that during it. I think the more, you said something during the opening that I think is probably going to be more of the case, because last week we talked about Rey Mysterio being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and it was like, okay, does something happen on Friday on SmackDown which leads to a match between the two either on Saturday or Sunday? But you mentioned what I was thinking over the weekend, which was when they're all lined up out there and there's only a handful of people this year that are going to be standing out on that stage being introduced to everybody, that's probably when that would happen on Saturday to set up a match for Sunday. That was one of the things I was going to say on the show today, and then you already said it. And I think that to me is the most obvious thing you can do.
Well,
it makes more sense to me too than to do it at the Hall of Fame at 11 o'clock at night when a lot of people probably aren't going to be watching.
Yes, you're going to have a much bigger audience if you do it actually at WrestleMania, but. You know, I like the original idea, which was my idea. But hey, listen, like I said, if the way they do it is better, that's fine. But I like the idea of it happening at the Hall of Fame induction because even though you've got a smaller audience, the story is there's nothing that Dom can do to make this guy fight his own son. There's nothing Dom can do, okay? Dom has attacked Ray 500 times. He's stolen his mask. He's done this and he's done that. Ray's already been inducted, and he's just standing there on the stage waving, and Dominic attacks him. It's like, that's not that much worse than what he's done all of his time. Whereas if you're actually doing the Hall of Fame induction, you only get one shot to do this the first time. You're in your family's there, and everyone's, it's like this is not, there's never been an angle, there's never been an attack in a Hall of Fame. That's the kind of thing where you ruin that moment. Now Ray's like, I'm going to whip your ass, you little punk. So I like it better actually at the Hall of Fame, but I think they probably will do it during when everyone comes out in the line because at the end of the day, what, you're going to give Ray another Hall of Fame induction that doesn't get screwed up? I mean, is that really going to be his till the end of time Hall of Fame induction speech? They shoot an angle. So it probably will take place at WrestleMania, but I like the idea of it happening at the ceremony way better.
Part of Rey Mysterio Jr.'s legacy in WWE, finally getting to something and then having that moment destroyed for you. I just still remember him being smashed with the Paul White picked him up while he was on the backboard and smashing up against the talk about a bad post winning your championship reign. There's been plenty of those in WWE, but Rey Mysterio, one of the greatest examples of that.
The other thing too is what's the story? I will never wrestle you. There's nothing you could do to me that'll ever make me to me. So if you do it at the induction, Dom can waylay Conan, which is the sympathy key because everyone knows Conan's had so many health issues, and Dominic attacking Conan as well as Ray. Whereas if you bring everybody out on stage, I don't think they bring out the inductors onto the stage. No. I think it's only the inductees. So there would be no logical reason for Conan to be out there if you do it then, but.
Another thing they could do, too, he puts hands on either his mother or Vicky Guerrero that's there, or Rhea Ripley does, which also could bring something on.
Back in a moment, Observer Live.
It's definitely something I will remember for the rest of my life. Just like hearing that 1, 2, 3, the bell, and like the fans going crazy, like it was like a dream. Like it was an amazing feeling. Like I've never performed in front of a crowd that was that energetic and had that many people in the in the stadium. So it was really cool. And I was just really happy that like people were behind me, like because nobody knew who I was. And just to have the fans have my back like they did that night, it was very special because it doesn't happen very often, moments like that. So I was cool to like be the guy in that situation.
What was your reaction when they told you like, hey, this is what's going to go down? You're going to go out there and you're going to have a match with Jericho on this big show. And then on top of that, you're going to be the one to go over. Like, what were you thinking? What was your reaction to that? And what was your like moment before you went out onto the actual, to do the actual matchup?
Yeah, it was a lot because I really didn't think that that's what I was going to be doing that day. Like I just randomly got like called to like be there, but like I figured it'd be for some reason because like they were flying me out. Like any other time I've been to AEW, it's been like fairly local to me, and this was in Texas, which wasn't at all. And when they told me, I really couldn't believe it. It felt too good to be true. Like I was very like grateful to like first find out that I was going to be wrestling Chris Jericho. Like that's a huge thing itself. And then when I found out I was going over, it really felt too good to be true. And like a lot of things were just going on in my head. I started getting like a little bit of like nerves, but excitement and just, wanting to tell everybody, but I couldn't. And Yeah, it was just, I just took some time to myself after, got all my nerves out, like told myself this is happening. Like we're gonna go out there, we're gonna do this, we're gonna crush it. Like you're here for a reason, you're in this situation for a reason. And yeah, just went out there and whew, I get like fired up just thinking about that night right now. It was, yeah, me and Chris, we made magic happen out there, and we made a very, very special moment. And like he's the one that, made it for me.
What feedback did you get after that match, and what feedback have you been getting? Because you've really been, thrusted into the spotlight in AEW, and you're now one of the guys that would definitely consider, a rising star. So for you, like, what has the feedback been like from either Jericho, Tony Khan, or anybody else in AEW?
One of the biggest things I've honestly been told is to enjoy everything that's going on. Like that, like I've been told that a lot. Like, don't take any of this for granted right now. Like, don't get too caught up in all the other, stuff that comes with this. Like, just have fun and enjoy what's going on.
Back in the show, Brian Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Next number BB, also WrestlingObserver.com. All right, we got more news. Steve Austin addresses possible involvement at Mania 39. Told the Wrestling Classic he has not heard from WWE regarding the event. Also said he believes the company should focus on its current roster at this year's show. He says, I haven't heard anything. We're literally, as we speak right now, it's about 2 weeks away. It's the biggest show of the year. Right now, I think WWE's got a good roster. Best roster they've had since the Attitude Era. That's a deep roster. I think so many guys and gals need those coveted spots. They got plenty of names to draw from, plenty of talent to draw from. I think they should shine the light and the cameras on their current superstars. But whether he'll appear, he said, to be determined. Well, Steve, they got 2 nights. We got open slots, brother. I'd love to see Steve Austin at Mania, because you know what? Like some of these guys, this guy can talk, and as we saw last year, he can go. So,
hey, wise words from Steve Austin, too, about focus on the people that are there. Don't try to come up with something for me in 2 weeks or anything like that, and they shouldn't do that.
I wouldn't have them do a match for sure, but you could have an
I mean,
appearance.
just in general, because they do fall back to the well of bringing too many people back, and one of the big problems of this whole Roman Reigns storyline is who has gotten over. We already have talked about that, and that's going to be the most important thing here when it comes to Triple H and him being in charge and just the company in general. You talk about somebody that Roman Reigns could lose to now that he no longer has the title. Well, guess what? Say he's going to take a couple of months off, and he has a match with Cody, and he loses. Okay, you have that rematch. But bring up Braun Breaker. Bring up somebody that can actually benefit from a big win. Somebody who they are invested in and do see a future in. Why not have him be one of the ones that actually may get a shot at Roman Reigns? Yeah, I'm just bringing up hypotheticals here, but Braun Breaker is one of those guys that it's like, if somebody needs to come up to that main roster and have that hit like a Brock Lesnar, like some other people have had. And to me, Braun Breaker is going to need that. And Roman Reigns would be a great person to put on vacation for a while, after Mania.
All right, now back off for a second. Allow me for a moment. I got to do a follow-up for this Friday's show. We spent a long time Friday talking about the AEW house show they were running on Saturday night in Troy, Ohio. And I got to make this clear here, okay? I don't know if I read it wrong. I don't know if I misinterpreted it wrong when I was talking about the WrestleTix, what the advance was for the show. I think I said they were at 1,000. I believe at the time that we were doing the show Friday, they were actually around 2,000, okay? So they were doing better than I thought when I was doing the big speech on Friday. So I want to alter my house show speech a little bit based on how this show did. Because at the end of the day, the Troy, Ohio house show was a big success. They had it set up for 3,400, and it drew 3,200. They had a big walk-up, and I was told that, like, around town, they did a great job of promotion for the show. And, that was one of the reasons that Jeff Jarrett was brought in, was to do that. And, whatever you want to say about Jeff wrestling on TV, or whatever you want to say about TNA or Impact or whatever, they have always, and this being Jarrett and the folks that worked at TNA and Impact, the booking of TNA starting in 2002 was hit and miss, and mostly miss, okay? There was a lot of things that were, like, so stupid and horrible. A lot of you listening right now are probably listening because you found audio on YouTube of me burying TNA, okay? I've heard that 1,000 times. But there were things they did well, okay? One of the things they did well was they could take a building with, like, 1,000 people in it and make it look like 5,000. They did a great job with that. And they also always did a good job with strong local promotion, okay? And apparently they did that for this Troy, Ohio house show, and they had a big walk-up. And, I heard from the fans that went that they had a great time. I heard from the wrestlers that they had a great time. The wrestlers loved the crowd. They loved getting out there and getting a chance to work. And, from every angle, from how many tickets they sold to how much fun the fans had to how much fun the wrestlers had, success all the way around, okay? Now, I also want to make clear something that I was talking about on Friday. I was talking about, this is what you should do for house shows. You need to have some big matches there. You should have some matches that you can't see on television. You should announce, the Young Bucks versus FTR. You should announce Jon Moxley versus Hangman in a death match or whatever. The whole house shows, you need to do two things, okay? Two things. The main thing they need to do is they need to get guys work, reps, the younger talent, the talent that works twice a month. They need to be working more than that, okay? Brock Lesnar, when he got called up to the main roster from Ohio Valley, you can go back and read the Observer, Figure 4, listen to whatever we were doing back then. It was like, this is a bad idea, dude. This guy is not ready. He needs another year. Well, what happened was they called him up. They put him in the ring with good workers. He was on the road 4 days a week, and he got up to speed quick, okay? So a lot of these wrestlers need more reps. And I'm not talking about like, oh, let's do AEW Dark. You got 2 minutes against a local talent, just squash them. I'm talking they got to work. So that's the main thing that these house shows need to accomplish. However, the other thing they need to accomplish is selling tickets. So when I say you need Jon Moxley versus Hangman in a death match, you need the Young Bucks versus FTR, you need the Elite versus whatever, that's your main event. That's maybe your semi-main event. After that, it's a card like this, okay? But you need something big, but not everything needs to be big. You need to make, and if you look at like, okay, well, guy like the Young Bucks or Moxley or whoever, they're on a guaranteed deal, so they're not being paid extra. But what you have to consider is their guaranteed deal is for X number of dates, and I would bet that none of them are working those dates, except maybe like Moxley, who works everywhere all the time. So, it doesn't have to be the same main event every time, but, the Young Bucks, you're going to work a couple of house shows a year. And you're going to main event, and you're going to be in this big match that you can't see on TV. Maybe you've only seen, Young Bucks FTR has been done twice in the history of AEW. So if you want to see it, you got to go to Troy, Ohio, and watch it live. It doesn't have to be every weekend, doesn't have to be every show, but once they do that, then maybe, Bryan Danielson MJF is going to headline this house show. And, it's one extra date for Bryan and MJF, but it's only once every 6 months or whatever. You can alternate your big matches that you're giving people. But Ethan Page, Shawn Dean. Ethan Page is a great opponent for Shawn Dean. He's a great opponent for Hook. Brian Pillman Jr. versus Jeff Jarrett. Brian Pillman's a local guy, help promote the show. He gets experience working Jeff Jarrett. Ruby Soho and Hollywood Haley was an angle for TV. And then Orange and Darby versus the Butcher and the Blade. I mean, those are all TV people. That's a good match for everybody. And then Britt Baker versus Anna J.A.S. in her first match back since getting hurt. What's the idea here? Get her in the ring, not on national television. She may be rusty. She may not remember anything, but it's an house show. Get him in there and get working and try to Try to do something. Chris Daniels and Powerhouse Hobbs. Dude, Powerhouse Hobbs is great. You don't think Powerhouse Hobbs can benefit from working with Christopher Daniels? And then John Moxley and Claudio versus Lee Moriarty and Big Bill. It's like, get those guys in with a great team that's going to have a great match with them. That's what a house show is all about. So, at the end of the day, it was a success. Tony did come out and say, we're going to come back here to Troy, Ohio at some point. And my overall point is, you sold 3,200 tickets this time. Are you going to sell 3,200 in Troy, Ohio next time without a big-time main event? Maybe you will, maybe you won't. You can go and try. But to me, it's like after you've been to the market once, now you got to give at least one or two big special things, and then you do the rest of the card the way they did the card here. So overall, it was a big success. I was wrong on Friday, and it turned out great for them. Hopefully they can do more, and hopefully they can tour, a couple times a month or whatever in different places and make some money and get people experience.
Yeah, I'm happy for the fans, and I'm happy, in these towns, and I'm happy for the wrestlers that are getting reps in, getting work in, and just working in front of people more. I mean, these are performers. They like going out there to perform, bottom line. So we were looking at numbers that are estimations, and that's something we should, let people know about when it comes to WrestleTix is these are seat estimations that we were going off of. Apparently, later on Friday, Mike Johnson on PW Insider said it had a little bit more of a closer number, a more accurate number to saying that it was close to sold out. But the bottom line for me is I wanted to see what they were doing locally. And apparently they did do a lot locally from what it sounds like. It was not, was not advertised much, was not posted up on Twitter much or anything like that. But they did do well as far as getting their claws in and getting people excited there. So I'm a big fan of house shows. I'm a big fan of matches that you didn't bring up, like Pat Buck and QT Marshall, and a lot of people rolled their eyes when they saw that and went, Pat Buck and QT. Look, I'm good with it, and I'll tell you why. These are two of your better trainers that you have inside that company, and those guys going out there to work a house show match that some of these other guys can watch, not the worst idea in the world.
Well, yeah, but you could also just have QT wrestle somebody else and get him actually in there with QT. That's what I wanted to see.
Well,
what does Pat Buck need to be in the ring with QT Marshall for?
Because Pat Buck got a shot to wrestle on an AEW house show, because you know what? Sometimes that's also what house shows are for fun little things that you'll never see on TV, matches that you may not see on TV, interactions that you may not see. So I got to be honest, that's one where everybody was rolling their eyes, but I got a huge kick, and I've seen QT and Pat Buck wrestle live, so I'm actually completely good with that.
Well, sure, but I mean, everyone here is like, it was fun, it was silly. Bruh, there's a lot of guys who could have a fun, silly match with a QT that could use another match in the ring with a QT.
Hey, but some
Pat
people
Buck's
also
going back to agent matches now.
Yeah, but he can go back to look. If this was the one thing that they were doing, I'd say, okay, you're right, or they're only going to do these things once a month. Don't waste the time. But I'm okay with it this time. We'll see what the rest of these shows look like as they go along, especially the tour in Canada and all that. But I think it's a good idea. I like the idea.
Well, anyway, that was the house show. Did well. We've got some other quick notes here. The New Japan Cup concludes Tuesday, and it will be Finn Lee versus the Five Guys, Sonata. He's one of the Five Guys, and the winner takes home the New Japan Cup. Man, me and DJ, we got $5 on this, brother. And you know what? Let me tell you this. Here's the deal, everybody. This is why we have the $5 bet anyway. I presume that Finn Lee is going to win this tournament, okay? But if they have suddenly decided, brother, we're going all the way with this guy, this Sonata, and he's going to win this cup, and he's going to go and he's going to upset Okada, and man, it's Sonata's time. I'm all for it, dude. I'm all for it. What I don't want to see is the 95th. You know, I'll predict this right now if Sonata wins, okay? What I don't need to see is Sonata win this cup, go have a match with Okada, go back and forth, blah, blah, blah. Finally, he's got this guy in the skull end. Tell me if this sounds familiar. He's got the guy in the skull end. The guy's out. The arm goes down once. It goes down twice. You're like, it's over. And then this idiot lets go of it. Goes up top. Misses the moonsault. Rainmaker, and it's over. I don't need to see it. Mike is laughing because he knows that's exactly what happens every time. Back in a moment, Observer Live.
What was it like going to those early tours in Mexico when you're still not yet accepted? And, like you mentioned, kind of those barriers that you were kind of going through. What was the difference in terms of going then to those early trips in Mexico and then now when you're going to Mexico? Obviously, totally different.
Yeah, completely. Totally. My first time that I went, so they used to run these really big Lucha Libre shows here in Chicago at the Congress Theater with like these super names like Wagner, Parka, Demon, anybody you can think of. So I was performing in front of like 2 or 3,000 people at 17 years old and meeting all these people. And I was playing a heel. I was throwing tortillas at the crowd. I caught the attention of one of the mega stars of CMLL at the time, whose name is Tarzan Boy. And this story is pretty crazy. I'll take you through it. He hands me a piece of paper with a lot of phone numbers on it. He's like, please call me, because I was telling him I want to go to Mexico someday. He's like, when you get there, please call me. He didn't really speak any English. So I held on to that piece of paper for a long time until I graduated high school. I said, you know what, worked out like a crazy madman. I'm going to Mexico. Finally get to Mexico. I get all the way down there. I don't speak a lick of Spanish at this point. And I just stay at the hotel that he had maybe mentioned, and it's kind of close to Arena, Mexico. And I called the number once, called the number twice, and there's no answer. And I said, oh my God, I'm in a foreign country. This guy isn't answering. It was probably a fake number. I don't even know how to dial all these numbers, so I was probably dialing it wrong. And I don't leave my hotel room for 3 full days because I am terrified that I'm going to get kidnapped and or whatever else they do to foreigners that I thought back then, right? I stayed in my room for 3 days. I got room service for 3 days. And I took the phone number down to the front desk and I had them call, and he finally answers. So I'm 17 years old. He finally answers. He comes to pick me up. We start to train in Arena, Mexico with the top guys. Now, you got to understand at this time, I didn't know who anybody was, but now looking back, it was the class that everybody's trying to be in with Ultimo Guerrero, Virus, Mystico, everybody that you can imagine. And I'm rolling around with them at 17, which is just unheard of now. And I'll never forget, like, one of those classes, we went down into the ring in the middle of Arena Mexico, man, and I was like, this is where I'm trying to be. It's just incredible, the trajectory that this path that I've taken. And I want to go back to you. I wanted to bring it all back to your question. Going back to my start and going into the locker rooms and not knowing the language, obviously very nervous, uneasy, trying to be accepted, to now I go into these locker rooms and I'm completely accepted, respected, and people are eager to work with me. So it's just a complete 180 for sure.
Robin here says, you are right, Brian. I like emails like this. My buddy was at the Troy, Ohio show. He said Hook's match with Ethan Page was the longest and probably the best match of Hook's short career so far. Did you do matches exactly like these on the AW house shows? Get the young guys more reps. Yep, that young Pat Buck. He'll never forget that Troy, Ohio house show. All he learned in the ring with QT
I hope he
Marshall.
comes and chokes you out. I heard you were too scared to face him on the cruise.
Hey, he ain't gonna, because you know what I've been doing in the commercial breaks? Training during the commercial breaks.
He's been doing push-ups.
And when this show's over, I'm going right into that treadmill. I'm going to watch New Japan Strong, and I'm going to just rock it on that treadmill, because it is Black Label Pro World Tag Team Championships week, and man, I'm gonna kill it. Tom and I, we've got some gear. Boy, do we got some gear. We're a real team now, so we're gonna get some gear that matches, and get a head out there.
God, there's tassels.
Man, I'm gonna kill it that match, and I'm I'm going to triumphantly see you guys are all down on me and everything like that, and you're trying to just like cause trouble. But at the end of the day, I'm bringing these titles home for you guys. I'm bringing them home for all of you. And I'm going to put that belt right there in the corner. Maybe both of them, actually. Depends on how much work I do. And then, you know, what's really going to be fun is I got a party scheduled for the day after the match, Sunday. So you're going to be able to follow me on Twitter. I think my Twitter subscribers will get the first crack at the photos. But, man, the day after that, I fly home. I got a big party scheduled for that night. I'm going to have, like, I got a food truck. There's going to be wine, rented out a winery. And I'm going to just party it up with all my buddies as the new Black Label Pro Tag Team Champions. And Tom's going to be on the show as well in an hour, so check it out. 2 Pacific, 5 Eastern. Video.f4wonline.com, WrestlingObserver.com. We'll talk to you next time, Wrestling Observer Live.